Welcome to Outside the Box. I'm your host, Margot. You're tuned into the Franklin cover-up. This is regarding Lawrence E. King Jr. and his participation in his secret clandestine affairs of his high-class prostitution ring. But he was really front-paged for embezzling over $40 million from his place of employment, in which he held a position as general manager at the Franklin Federal Credit Union, as well as a prominent leader in the Black community in Omaha, Nebraska. And he held a position in the National Black Republican Council. So in November 1988, Lawrence King Jr. was arrested for embezzling $40 million from his place of employment. Not to mention the darker side of everything with this man, he ran a high-class prostitution ring, which was trafficking minors and specifically targeting boys. The accusations primarily, of course, centered around him because he is the one that orchestrated these parties and these unspeakable acts against many of these children. Some allegations stated that children were lured from foster homes and institutions like Boys Town, which is the main topic of today. The Franklin cover-up is revolving around Boys Town institution. But to attend these lavish parties, and they were abused. Claims went even farther with prominent leaders in Washington, D.C., high-ranking businessmen, so on and so forth, which made this one of the largest cover-ups in American history. Oddly, Boys Town Children's Charity was founded in 1917 by a priest by the name of Father Flanagan. At first, Boys Town was only for boys, but at some point it began accepting girls. So a lot of these children were lured from Boys Town and other foster homes as well to attend these parties for these high-end businessmen and politicians and whoever else attended these parties. Of course, there was a case that was opened up against Larry King Jr. with the State Foster Care Review Board, but due to his political clout and buying authorities, FBI, local authorities, he was able to escape unscathed. They did not believe anything that these children were saying about Mr. King and his devious ways. Of course, he had two accomplices, which was Alan Baer, who was the owner of a department store or a few department stores, Peter Citrum, which was the owner and operator of the Nebraska World Herald. So Mr. Larry King had some of the most powerful and influential people on his side, which made him able to go ahead and only be prosecuted for the $40 million, which again raises a red flag. Was that the $40 million from the prostitution ring? I would think so, theoretically speaking, but really, who knows? But I would think that's what it was from. But before he was arrested, Mr. King spent millions of dollars on jewelry, clothing to maintain his lavish lifestyle, of course, and also for private planes. This, in turn, was to transport the children back and forth from the country or wherever they were going to attend these parties. Mr. Larry King had 3 homes in Omaha, Nebraska, and Washington, D.C., and in these homes is where he would throw these parties with these children. During the raid in April 11, 1988, that's when the Federal Credit Union was raided and closed by the FBI. Larry King Jr., again, he got in trouble for embezzling the $40 million. And again, here comes the children trying, a cry for help because he's not being punished for what he had done to these children. It was 3 of them that were interviewed. It was Troy Bonner, Alicia Owens, as well as Valanci. His first name, I think, is Paul Valanci. So Paul Valanci, he explained that many children from ages, the youngest being 8 years old, it's almost like if they had like an age range from like age 8 to 13, it was like fondling and oral sex. It was almost like kind of breeding these children to grow up to either be high-end prostitutes. It could have been some sort of SRA, which is satanic ritual abuse. Usually this is where they're able to compartmentalize. They're like really smart people, but they're like able to compartmentalize like all the traumatic things that they've gone through. This is to be able to breed and raise like either a politician or again a high-end something of some sort of status. So by the spring of 1990, there was no longer an accusation about what was going on because the money trail did lead to the pedophile ring. Unfortunately, the higher ups like the FBI and other agencies were able to get to the victims or the supporters of the victims before they could even do anything. So a lot of these individuals like Troy Bonner retracted his statement, and in turn that got Alicia Owens in trouble for perjury. So it was like she was lying. So she ended up getting, I think, 9 to 25 years in prison for perjury. Alan Baer, he only received, I think, a $500 fine. Of course, pleading no contest reduced his charges. It was only for aiding and abetting prostitutes. Peter Setrum served 2 out of 8 years, and this is the guy who is the owner and operator of the Nebraska Herald. And Larry King Jr. himself served a 15-year sentence, and he only served for fraud and embezzlement and ruled he paid young men for sex. So he didn't get charged for anything, not a sex ring, not any type of organized crime, only for the embezzlement and for basically paying prostitutes. So in 1991, Alicia Owens was convicted of perjury, and Troy Bonner testified that all the child molestations allegations were all stories that were fabricated. So in turn, that helped Larry King Jr. with his sentence as well as his accomplices. So you can see how higher ups are able to manipulate the system as well as individuals into doing what, you know, they want them to do. So they're able to get away with these unspeakable crimes. It is so unfortunate. But I'd like to thank you guys for tuning into Outside the Box. Please subscribe. And thank you again. Stay safe and informed.